Welcome to Farmer James Mountainside Beekeeping. I'm here in Vermont. It's a cloudy day. It's a cold day. Yeah, it's a two-hat day, folks. Yeah, it's cold. That's why I'm keeping these bees wrapped. I'm not trying to take any of the wraps because it's too early here. And it's only April 7th, April 8th. Well, anyway, it's Monday. A few days before. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so Monday. I think it's April 7th. Yeah, so cold anyway. 2 days ago when I did the show, I was putting some feed on these hives. And man, these hives really didn't eat up a lot of their food. The bees that I like in these hives that I really like are the Russian carniolan mutt bees. I do have pure carniolan. And I also have two smaller nukes that survived, and I'm feeding those. Those nukes are in this box here and this box right there. Well, and I call them nuke size because they're about 2 frames, 3 frames large. So that's another reason why I'm keeping the wraps on, because the night temperatures are still dropping. And this is going to be one of those nights where we're going to have temperatures dropping down and below freezing, and we're going to have snow probably, where I'm at about 2 inches, and higher elevation is about 4. But see, man, it was 50 degrees the other day, and down today I got 2 hats on my head. So yeah, back to feeding. So I did put some my blend. My blend is a mixture of, if you saw in the video, I used the Mega Bee Super DFM. I like that. It's full of nice things. I'm not getting paid for any promotional thing or anything like that. So this is just what I really put together for my bees up here in Vermont. These survivor bees are a blend of the Russian and carniolan mutt bees that I got through Coy, Stephen Coy. Also some of the traits from the bees basically just live with raw mites well, because I don't like to treat with anything but maybe essential oils and or what's up there in the trees and Mother Nature. So what's around me is what I like to feed my bees. So back to what I'm saying. So I do need to supplement. And at this time, like I said, folks, no more of the sugar fondant. It's done its work. And also discovered, based on these traits of bees behind me, the Russian mutt bees, so forth and so on. And if you see what I've done there, I may have taken off just there that little face plate, because they were roaring out of the hives. And those were the hives that are really large clustered hives. The other ones I kind of left on. But to put it simply, those traded bees, they are now up into the higher boxes. Okay, so they're mostly in just below the supers. All right. These bees, folks, they really did not eat a lot of their stores. So many of these hives right here, okay, have at least 30 pounds of what they stored for winter. And that's not including the 50 plus pounds per hive that I took off. So anyway, and that was just what, in a month or two of foraging, doing a strong nectar floor in the fall. But back to that feed. So I'm doing a fondant. No, I'm not doing sugar fondant. I'm doing pollen patties, because, as you know, again, I'm sharing with you scientific proven studies that help bees build up in certain time periods of the year. This time period of the year coming out of winter, I want them to build up to get strong, because the queen should be laying. There should be signs of a good queen laying and colony buildup. So I want them strong before the nectar flow. Right now we have pollen blooming, so I'm trying to supplement with pollen. So I'm not doing a 1-to-1. I don't want that. That'll be later when the nectar flow begins, where I'll be adding to help those wax bees, and we'll talk about wax bees jobs at that time. Right now, back to the feed and pollen, because pollen is food for the brood. All right, so there you have it. My thing, nectar, is good for building up comb, for storage, that kind of stuff, meaning, nectar becomes honey So that kind of food supplement storage down the road. But pollen, folks, is really to help the brood build up. So to help that situation, I want to add as much pollen as I can. Right now we have maple naturally pollen. And if you see some bees fly to me, there are those mud mount bees. Even though it's cloudy and cold, they're out there foraging. All right, and then we have the Russian mud bees. Some of those bees are still inside. But all the hives have the pollen patties with rocket fuel. I got from Man Lake. Again, I'm not getting any promotional things from that. So Man Lake is a really good resource for their pollen patties, which I love. I had great results using those pollen patties on these hives. These hives built up to about 3 deeps above their 2 deeps on average, most of these hives. That was with that rocket fuel. It's really great. Also, I use the Apis Biologics along with that. So they all have that on the hives. I add a little bit of that. It's also part of the rocket fuel pollen patties. So the pollen patties are on. No more fondant. They have their stores. And I had to score the frames of that crystallized honey because the honey got cold in a lot of these hives. A lot of those hives, over the winter had a lot of their stores, and I left about a super I did on each of them. But that has solidified, and also some of these hives in their deeps, the cluster had frames around that cluster on the side. So I scored open that cluster so that will help them get to that feed on their own food, not what I'm giving them, that food. And by scoring that honey, they jumped right on it and not at me. All right. I didn't film that, but when the bees were hungry, they quickly come out of the top of that hive. And what I mean, as soon as you lift that inner cover, they're like rushing right in your face. So that's a quick sign that your bees are hungry, but it was really weird to see that. And then also right next to them on the outside, they had a lot of solid honey. So by scoring that, helped them jump on that. Also by what I had to do, but by not saying it, what I needed to do was move the cluster more centered, because the clusters in many of these hives that are small, the tighter clusters, those carniolan bees, the clusters move to one side of the hive, preventing them on cold days from getting that food that was right next to them. So even though you wrap your hives well, do what you do, the bees themselves do what they do to stay warm. So I needed to make that shift from this side or maybe that side to more centered, and then score and take some of those frames out of these boxes. Okay, so take some frames out and move it right in between the clusters. All right, so that food is immediately available to them. All right, and so that's what I really did, folks. I wanted to shuffle things around in that those supers, just scoring everything, and then in the deep body right next to those clusters, they still had food. So taking that food that was on the outside, that was crystallized honey, I scored it and then shuffled that right next in between the cluster. So that will give them immediate food on these cold days, because it's a 2 hat day, whereas the other day it was just a top hat day. Anyway, yeah, it's cold today. I'm wearing a coat, 2 hats. My hands are inside. The bees are inside, except those beautiful mountain mutt bee carniolan traits. They're out foraging. So back to the feed. So yeah, I talked about my pollen patties. You heard that, the rocket fuel. It's great. I would be adding that now if you lived in the mountains. But also if you have bees building up anywhere in the USFA and you're now seeing that build up, you don't really have a lot of temperatures below 40 during the day, then yeah, I would add supplement in the pollen form, no more fondant form. But that's my opinion. That's what I've learned scientifically. That's why I've been away, folks. I'm part of a master beekeeping program under Dr. Robin Underwood, Penn State. It's more or less picking you or invited to the program, I guess. And we're specifically studying the importance of drones. And I'll talk about that again, but please, folks, don't stop using drones as bait for mites. Drones serve a great importance to the breeding of the bees you want. So please slow it down on killing your drones. Stop using them as guinea pigs, like bait for the mites, okay? Know why and how mites feed. Know when to treat. I don't use miticides with my bees. I have bees that know how to live with mites, just like I know how to live with the viruses that we have and are dealing with. And being an ethnobotanist, I only deal with herbs that help me and probiotics that help me and so forth and so on. So I don't go to the doctor. I don't get injections. So I don't want my bees to have injections. I do not want RNA in them, nor myself. But I am not here to talk about political things, but what I do. So back to the feed. So yes, folks, I just did the pollen. I also added the Super DFM. Okay, so the pollen patties have Apis biologics. That stuff is a really good blend of microbials because it is so important to build up microbials in the bees, the mitochondria, which those microbials help build up. And that's why it's good for us to build up mitochondria, because by having all these great things that fights viruses, which the mite gives to our honeybees. So the mite isn't giving diseases, it's giving viruses that are making the honeybee more susceptible to stressors that create diseases, just like in us. So if we prevent the stressors that cause issues with us, then we should also try to prevent the stressors that create issues with our honeybees. So that's what I'm trying to do, folks. Those are the things I'm sharing with you. Again, if you like what I'm saying, if you dislike what I'm saying, whatever you want to add to what I'm saying, you want to say, hey, James, you're speaking from whatever, but no, I'm bringing science, leave it down in the comments. Let me know, like, dislike, subscribe by what you're doing. You're helping me continue to bring what you need to know for you to help you all become successful backyard beekeepers, sideliners, whatever you wish to be. I am a sideliner beekeeper. I am a Vermont certified beekeeper. I am 2 master beekeeping programs, Cornell and Penn State. I am also a columnist. I have also one of the best creamed honey and tasting honey in North America, the best in North America. And also, I just continue to breed and try to manage great bees without using chemicals. Yes, I use essential oils. I use Mother Nature, which is behind me. Okay. And I also use things to supplement when, just like us, folks, we need to supplement because we can't get great food to keep us strong, keep us vibrant. So I said, folks, I'm not really doing a sugar syrup because I don't need to mimic nectar, but a lot of sugar syrups that you make, scientifically proven, some of that stuff may be in an imbalance, okay? So what you be making yourself may cause an imbalance in proper nutrition. So, like I said, learn, ask, keep learning. I'm learning. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I'm keeping my head on a swivel so that I can learn how to be a better manager, not a better beekeeper. Okay. Again, Farmer James, Mountainside, beekeeping. Yes, it is called that, but it should be called sustainable beekeeping. It should be called managing beekeeping. I'm not even sure the proper term. But back to that, folks. Feed the bees according to the